welcome back to English from A to Z, English in real life. Today, we're tackling one of the biggest, most frustrating problems for pretty much every English learner out there. How in the world do you practice speaking when you don't have anyone to speak with? It feels like a total roadblock, right? Well, what if I told you the solution is simpler and way more powerful than you ever thought? Let's dive in.
So, does this sound familiar? You spend hours studying grammar rules, you listen to English movies, podcasts, everything. But then, the moment you actually need to speak to form your own sentence, nothing. Your mind just goes completely blank. It's that awful, stuck feeling. And everyone tells you, oh, you just need to practice speaking more. But that just leads to the real question, doesn't it? How can you practice speaking when you're all by yourself? You know, there's a name for this problem. It's called the speaking paradox. It goes like this. To get better at speaking, you have to speak. But how can you speak if you don't have a partner to practice with? It's a classic catch-22, and it's incredibly frustrating. But here's the good news. There is a technique that can completely shatter this cycle, and all you need is your own voice. And that solution, the method that can absolutely transform your English practice, is called the imitation technique. The best part? It requires zero partners, but it's designed to sharpen your sentence structure, your grammar, and most importantly, your ability to get your ideas out of your head and into the world clearly and confidently. Now, let's be super clear about something right away. When I say imitation, I'm not talking about just repeating words like a parrot. Okay? This isn't a pronunciation exercise. This is a much, much deeper skill. We're going to shift the goal from just copying sounds to what language is all about in the first place: communicating ideas. Let's break this down so you can really see the difference. On one hand, you've got simple repetition. The goal there is just pronunciation. You just say the exact same words you hear, the focus on sounds. But with true imitation, what we're talking about today, the goal is to express an idea. The method isn't to say the same words, but to use your own words to say the same thing. See? The focus shifts completely from just making noise to genuine communication. Okay, so theory is one thing, but let's make this real. Let's actually see how this works. I'm going to tell you a super short story, and then we'll break down how to imitate it. For now, your only job is to listen. All right, pretty simple, right? It's a story from a first-person point of view. The main ideas are, being a kid, parents, and the whole Santa Claus thing at Christmas. Now, instead of just repeating that sentence, let's see what happens when we imitate the idea. Did you catch that? It's a subtle shift, but it's everything. I became he. Us became them. The core message, the story itself, is exactly the same, but the sentence was totally rebuilt to tell it from a different perspective. That's the key right there. You're not just a recording device. You're actively processing and recommunicating the idea. Okay, let's try one more piece of the puzzle. Here's the next line of the original story. And boom, there it is again. The imitated version keeps the exact same meaning, but it changes the phrasing. My siblings and I turns into he and his siblings. Your brain has to actively take in the meaning and then build a new sentence to express it. That's the workout your speaking muscles need. So you're probably thinking, okay, I get it, but how do I actually start doing this? Well, the key is to have a plan. You don't just jump into the deep end. You use a structured approach, starting with the easy stuff and slowly leveling up as you get better. Here's your 3-step action plan. First, you just start small, super small. Imitate short phrases and single sentences, just like we did with the Santa Claus story. Once that feels comfortable, you expand. You listen until the speaker finishes a complete thought, a whole idea. Then you pause and express that entire idea in your own words. And finally, you go big. You listen to a whole speech or a short story, and then you challenge yourself to retell the entire thing from start to finish. Now, this whole technique might seem simple on the surface, but there is some serious magic happening inside your brain when you do this.
The reason it's so incredibly effective is because it taps into the exact same natural process your brain used to learn your very first language as a child. Think about what's really happening when you practice imitation. You're not just making sounds. You're naturally absorbing correct sentence structures. You're picking up idioms and phrases that native speakers actually use. You're boosting your overall ability to get thoughts from your head into spoken words. But the biggest benefit, the one that sounds almost too good to be true, is that you are mastering grammar without ever studying a single grammar rule. So how on earth is that possible?
The secret is a powerful brain function called implicit learning. Basically, it's learning without realizing you're learning. By focusing only on the task of communicating an idea, you're forcing your brain to figure out and absorb the grammatical patterns on its own, in the background, without all the pain and frustration of memorizing rules from a textbook. And this, right here, is the mind-blowing part. This is exactly how you learned to speak your native language. I mean, think about it. When you were 2 years old, were you studying verb conjugation charts? Of course not. You just listened to the people around you, you tried to imitate them, and you focused on communicating what you wanted. Your brain did all the heavy lifting and absorbed the grammar rules automatically.
So the big mindset shift here is this. With the imitation technique, you stop thinking of yourself as a student of grammar. Instead, you become a communicator of ideas. And the amazing thing is, you're still learning all that grammar, probably even more effectively, but it's happening naturally without you even noticing. So, what's the big takeaway from all of this? It's that you don't have to wait for a speaking partner to make massive progress. You have everything you need right now. All it takes is some audio to listen to and this new approach. You listen to understand an idea, and then you speak to make that idea your own. So the only question left is, what are you waiting for? I mean it. As soon as this is over, find a short audio clip. It can be from a movie, a speech, anything. Listen to just the first sentence. Then pause it. The very next voice that should be heard is yours. So, what's the first idea you're going to make your own?